Hello guys, back to our new another video. This is Ismail Moamin. So today I'm gonna talk about the monetary policy of Bangladesh Bank. So first of all, what is monetary policy? Monetary policy is the process by which country central bank, like our country, our central bank is Bangladesh Bank, so control the money supply, interest rate, credit ability to achieve the economic goal such as the controlling inflation, stabilizing the currency, encouraging the economic growth and reducing unemployment. That's overall thing by the monetary policy. Now we discuss about how it's work. It's worked by the three major criteria. First of all, interest rate adjustment, secondly open market operation, and thirdly reserve requirement. So interest rate adjustment, only the central bank can increase or decrease the interest rate to influence borrowing cost and spending. And secondly, open market operation, the central bank buy or sell the government securities. Which type of government securities? Like that the bond in open market to increase or decrease the money supply and influence the short term interest rate. And thirdly is a reserve requirement. So central bank can adjust the number of the reserve bank are the required to hold against their deposits. The charging, the reserve requirement can affect it and how much money bank are able to lend. So this is the criteria where the central bank work is. So now we discuss about the goal of a monetary policy. So the goal of a monetary policy, which is the price stability. Monetary policy aim to keep low inflation and low stable of price. And secondly is a high employment. By the influencing the economy, monetary policy can help the create the job and reduce the unemployment rate. And economic growth, monetary policy can help the promote the economic growth by the encouraging the investment and spending. And fourth and final is the other objective, like that the in some cases the central bank may also the other objectives such as the maintaining exchange and the rate stability. Now we discuss about the impact on the economy. So monetary policy directly affected the inflections by the influencing the money supply and the borrowing cost. For an example, if we see that the previous year, like the 2024, July to December, Bangladesh experienced the persistent high inflation rate, primarily driven by the evaluate food price and the other economic pressures. So now we see that the monthly inflation rate, which is the July to December 2024. July 2024, our inflation rate is the 11.66%. The spike was the attribute to the significant increase in the both food and non-food prices. On the other hand, August 2024, our inflation rate is the 10.49%. Third, it remained in the double digit and indicating ongoing the prices and the pressures. And September 2024, our inflation rate is 9.92%, which is the continue to decline and falling below the 10% for the first time in the several months. And August 2024, the rate rose against to the 10.87%, driven by the scoring the food prices and the particularly staples like that the rice and the vegetables, which published by the Daily Star. November 2024, our inflation rate is 11.38%. Inflation peaked the highest in the 4 months as the food inflation and escalated to the 13.80%, which is published by the Financial Express. And December 2024, the rate is at to the 10.89%. Arrival of the winter vegetable thought it remain above the 10%, which is published by the Daily Star. So secondly is a economic growth. By the influencing the interest rate and the credit condition, the monetary policy can impact how much business and individual are willing to invest and spend. Bangladesh economic growth from the July to December 2024 was the noted and the scheduled influenced by the political unrest, inflation pressures, and the external challenges. Okay, now we see that the July to September 2024, the economic growth 1.81% is significantly declined from the 6.04% the growth in the same period the previous year. This downturn was the attribute to the political instability and reduced the business activities, which is published by the Pratham Alo, and October to December 2024, while the specific quarterly data for the period and able the overall the economic conditions suggest the growth and the influence by the ongoing and inflation and the external economic pressures. Annual GDP growth and estimated the fiscal year 2023 to 2024 July to June, the Bangladesh Bureau of Statistics reported a GDP growth of 4.22%, making the lowest in the 4 year and the falling the short of the earlier projected. Fiscal year 2024 to 2025, July 2024 to June 2025, the World Bank reserve it is the growth forecast to the 4%, down from the earlier estimated the 5.7%, and the citing the factors like the a slowdown in the grandman and exported the social unrest. So now we discuss about our another topic, which is the impact on our economy. So first of all, the inflation. Monetary policy that directly affected the inflation by the influencing the money supply and the borrowing cost. From July 2024 to December 2024, if you see that our previous year, Bangladesh experienced the persistently high inflation rate and the primary driven by the elevated food prices and the other economic pressures. If we see that the July to December, our inflation rate, which is July 2024 inflation rate, is the 11.66%. The spike was attributed to the significant increase in the both food and non-food prices. August 2024, the inflation rate is the 10.49%, and September 2024 our inflation rate is the 9.92%, falling below the 10% for the first time in the several months. And October 2024 our inflation rate is the 10.87%, driven by the scoring food prices and the particularly staple like the rice and the vegetable, which is published by the Daily Star. And November 2024 our inflation peaked at the 11.38%, the highest in the 4 months, as a food inflation estimated to the 13.80%. And December 2024 our inflation rate is 10.89%, added by the arrival of our winter vegetable, thought it is the remain above the 10. And secondly is the economic growth. By influencing interest rate and the credit conditions, the monetary policy can impact the how much business and individuals are willing to invest and spend. Bangladesh economic growth from the July to December 2024 was the notable and scheduled the influence by the political unrest and inflation pressures and external changes. Okay, so if we see that the quarterly GDP growth and overview, the July to September 2024, the economic growth by the 1.81%, a significant decline from the 6.04% growth in the same period the previous year. The downturn was the attribute to the political instability and the reduced the business activities. And October to December 2024, the specific the quarterly for this is the period and isn't available. The overall the economic and conditions suggest and the condition suggest the growth and influencing by the ongoing inflation and external economic pressures. Annual GDP, the growth estimated, which is the fiscal year 2023 to 2024, which is the July to June, the Bangladesh Bureau of Statistics report a GDP growth of 4.22%, making the lowest in the 4 years and the falling the short of the easier projects. Fiscal year 2024 to 2025, the July to June, The World Bank revised its the growth forecast to the 4%, down from and the earlier estimated the 5.7%, citing the factors like a slowdown in the garment export and the social unrest. Okay, so the contribute factors of the economic slowdown, which is the political instability, high inflation, and the exported challenges. So monetary policy can also influence the exchange rate, as the changing in the interest rate can affect the demanded for the country currency. Between the July to December 2024, the Bangladeshi Taka experienced a gradual depreciation against the US dollar, with the exchange rate moving from the approximate 117.5 to 119.6 Bangladeshi Taka per USD. Yesterday depreciation. The Taka weakened yesterday for the 6 month, with the exchange rate and increasing by the approximate 2.1 Bangladeshi Taka per USD. Peak rate. So the highest exchange rate during this period, the 119.61 Bangladeshi Taka per USD in October 2024, and the year end rate by the December 31, 2024. The exchange rate stood the approximate 119.58 Bangladeshi Taka per USD. Okay. So the annual summary for 2024, the average exchange rate, the average USD to Bangladeshi Taka exchange rate for the 2024 was the approximate 116.62, and the highest rate, which is the 119.675 Bangladeshi Taka per USD dollar, which is the September 16, 2024, and the lowest interest rate is the 109.438 per USD dollar on the January 8, 2024. Bangladesh Bank, like the other central bank, uses the various the monetary tools. Now we discuss about another topic, which is the monetary policy tools of a Bangladesh Bank. So Bangladesh Bank use the monetary policy tools like that the policy rate, which is the repo rate. Repo rate, that means this is the rate where the Bangladesh Bank lend to the commercial bank, and reserve repo rate, this is the inverse of the repo rate. Here the Bangladesh Bank grow to the other bank and bank rate, a long-term lending rate, not the frequently, and the charges by the symbolize. And secondly is the open market operation, and thirdly is a cash reserve requirement, and fourthly is a statutory liquid ratio, and fifth is a standing the lending facilities or the standing the deposit facilities, and six is a moral solution, and seven is a interest rate corridor, which the Bangladesh Bank set a floor and selling the rate for the short-term rate and the guide the market rates, exchange rate management and credit control and the production guidelines, and the foreign exchange reserve management. These tools are the monetary policy where the Bangladesh Bank use this tool. So overall the situation, we see that the different type of the stability and problem. So to the sum of the while the currently monetary policy has taken some important steps, the more ambiguous and reform are the needed. Bangladesh Bank must blindly to recognize the control inflation and stabilizing the currency rate and the clean up a banking sector and the modernize its operation. As a banking and insurance department students, I believe that a stable and a transparent monetary environment is the crucial, not the just macroeconomic stability, but also the attracting the foreign investment and creating jobs and supporting the long-term nation and the growth. So this is my opinion. If the Bangladesh Bank modernize their operation, their sector, there's definitely they overcome in this pandemic situation. So thank you everybody.